is Valley News Live at 4.
Good afternoon and happy Friday, everyone. It's a big weekend for high school football and for hunters. People are packing the stands to cheer on their home team, while others are packing up to head to deer camp. It sounds like we may have a nice weekend ahead of us. Let's get right over to meteorologist Nathan Hopper with a first look at our forecast. Nathan?
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. We do indeed have a good weekend ahead of us, but of course tonight I know a lot of folks have those Friday night football games, and I want to talk about what we've got going on right now. A live look at our Devil's Lake Home of Economy Skycam shows some dark clouds out there. Did see a bit of a rain shaft make its way across the screen there about 10 minutes ago, and we're seeing that kind of pattern across our North Dakota neighborhoods. Take a look at this. Radar showing, of course, most of that activity out across the Devil's Lake Basin, down through the James River Valley. It is light rainfall at this time, and the clouds have been around for most everyone today, and I do expect the cloudy trend to persist through the evening. So if you do have those Friday evening plans, especially out in the Devil's Lake Basin, Jamestown may encounter some of those light rain showers. Not expecting too much in the way of measurable rainfall from these clouds as they make their way through, but may need the old rain jacket or poncho if you're going out to those Friday night football games tonight. Temperatures in the 40s across the north. It's 63 right now in Oaks, 67 in Aberdeen, two of the warm spots there this hour. Clouds kept those temperatures up in the northern part of Minnesota muted today. Upper 40s right now, low 50s there for our friends in Roseau, 49 right now in Grand Forks, 53 there in Fargo. So for the rest of this evening in Fargo, you can see some variable cloudy conditions there for this evening, but temperatures staying in the upper 40s and lower 50s. And the same story goes for our friends in Grand Forks. So of course, Stacy, weekend is upon us, and yep, you're right, deer opener for Minnesota. We'll talk about that and a first alert weather day we have raised for Friday of next week in a few minutes.
All right. Thanks so much, Nathan. So the firearms deer hunting season is underway already in North Dakota. Hunters will head out first thing tomorrow in Minnesota. This year, hunters will have something new to watch for in the field: chronic wasting disease. They're required to bring any deer older than 1 year that was killed within a CWD zone to a DNR site for testing. The DNR has also put movement restrictions in place, meaning that in areas where CWD has been found, the whole carcasses of deer, including fawns, must stay within those zones until a not detected CWD test result is received. A man is under arrest after a high-speed chase in Fargo. North Dakota Highway Patrol says they tried to stop Glenn Reiner of Bismarck around 10:30 last night because he was driving 95 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone. Officers say he didn't stop and went on and off I-29 and I-94 trying to get away from police. They used stop sticks and blew out 2 tires on his pickup. The 33-year-old was arrested for fleeing and driving under the influence. The Grand Forks woman accused of trying to kill a man with a hammer earlier this year has been found not guilty on 2 of 3 charges. Alana Ranasati was charged with attempted murder, aggravated assault, and burglary. A jury acquitted her on both the attempted murder and burglary charges. She was found guilty on aggravated assault and sentenced to spend the next 2 years on supervised probation. On March 25th, Grand Forks police responded to an apartment on South 17th Street to find a 61-year-old man had been hit several times with a hammer. Court documents say Ranasati didn't know the victim. Students at the Dilworth Glendon Felton School District will soon need to mask up. Administration announced today students are now required to wear masks starting Monday due to current COVID numbers in the district. There are reports of multiple teachers and students out of class on quarantine. DGF follows Moorhead and Fargo in implementing mask mandates. Family, friends, and Washington's power players said a final goodbye to the late Colin Powell today. Powell served his country for decades as a soldier, diplomat, and advisor. He died last month of complications from COVID-19 while also battling Parkinson's and multiple myeloma. Deborah Alfarone takes us inside Washington's National Cathedral.
A who's who of Washington came to say goodbye to Colin Powell. In the front row, current and former presidents, along with former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Powell's former deputy, Richard Armitage, spoke about his boss's sense of humor and curiosity.
Nothing made Secretary Powell happier than to sneak away from his security detail. It would generally be followed by a call to me on the cell saying, "I'm free. I broke out."
Powell broke barriers during his decades in public life as a soldier and diplomat. He was the first black man to hold jobs as National Security Advisor, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Secretary of State.
Beneath that glossy exterior of warrior statesman was one of the gentlest and most decent people any of us will ever meet.
Powell was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom twice, and he called his 2003 speech to the UN, laying out his rationale for the war in Iraq, a blot on his record.
My father made a monumental difference.
Despite the pressures of his work, behind the scenes was a family life his son described as warm, joyous, and loving.
Colin Powell was a great lion with a big heart. We will miss him terribly.
Powell was 84 when he died, a husband, father, and grandfather. As the dignitaries left, the family gathered close to follow the four-star general on his final journey. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Despite serving in several Republican administrations, Powell had supported Democratic presidential candidates every election since voting for President Obama in 2008. Attorneys general in 11 states, including North and South Dakota, filed a lawsuit today against the Biden administration, challenging the new vaccine requirement for workers at companies with more than 100 employees. The lawsuit argues that the authority to compel vaccinations rests with the states, not the federal government. The top legal official for the U.S. Department of Labor says legal precedent allows it to issue rules that keep workplaces safe and that those rules preempt state laws. The new requirement kicks in January 4th, and companies who don't comply can be charged up to $14,000 per violation. The House could be close to voting on President Biden's sweeping domestic agenda as Democrats continue negotiations behind closed doors to wrangle votes from their party. The president made a public call for them to show the world that America's democracy can deliver. The price tag for Biden's social spending plan is nearly $2 trillion, and the infrastructure bill roughly $1 trillion. The legislation needs support from all Democrats to pass the evenly divided Senate. The two 16-year-old students charged in the death of a high school Spanish teacher in southeast Iowa are being charged as adults. Willard Miller and Jeremy Goodall are facing first-degree murder charges in the death of 66-year-old Nohema Graber. The Fairfield High School teacher was reported missing on Tuesday, and her remains were found later that day at a park. Court filings say her body was found under a tarp and she suffered head trauma. Friends of Graber are raising funds to help her family pay for funeral costs. The trial of three men accused of murdering Ahmad Arbory in Georgia last year is finally underway. A predominantly white 12-person jury was sworn in today to hear opening statements from state prosecutors and defense attorneys. Michael George reports from New York.
Mr. Arbory ran away from these three defendants in their pickup trucks for 5 minutes.
The long-awaited trial in the death of Ahmad Arbory began Friday, with lead prosecutor Linda Dunikowski playing the now infamous cell phone video which captured his final moments as Arbory's mother watched in the courtroom.
What did Travis McMichael do with that shotgun? He stepped around that open door and moved toward Mr. Arbory.
The state plans to argue Gregory McMichael and his son Travis McMichael wrongly assumed the 25-year-old black jogger was a burglar last February when they pursued him through the neighborhood of Brunswick and cornered him. Their neighbor, William Roddy Bryan, who recorded the fatal altercation, joined in the chase.
These three defendants committed 4 felonies against Mr. Arbory.
Defense attorneys raised objections about the substance of the state's opening statement before laying out their case.
He is not jogging. He is running away into the neighborhood, possibly armed. Travis McMichael, honestly and lawfully, attempted to detain Ahmad Arbory according to the law and shot and killed him in self-defense.
Only one black juror out of a 12-person jury was selected to hear the racially charged case, which fueled Black Lives Matter demonstrations. The 3 white defendants are standing trial together, charged with murder and other felony counts. All have pleaded not guilty. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Before that trial began, the judge ruled Arbory's probation status will not be allowed to be heard by the jury, but photographs of Travis McMichael's vanity plate with the Confederate battle flag will be allowed to be shown. Dwayne Johnson attended the premiere of his latest film, Red Notice, and after walking the red carpet, the action star and producer commented on the tragic accidental shooting on the set of Alec Baldwin's latest movie, Rust. He said it left him heartbroken and led to a change in his own production company, 7 Bucks Productions. Johnson said his company will no longer use real guns on set, only rubber guns with effects added in post.
It's created a new lens and a new perspective, I think, on how we can operate moving forward. We have to use, as awful as this situation was and is, we have to use this as an example, and I think in a way to be smarter as we move forward, be safer.
Johnson says they aren't concerned about the cost of post-production, but are focused on making movies the right way. A Minnesota police officer said he got a call that he'll never forget. Earlier this week, he broke up a street fight between 2 eagles in Plymouth. According to the DNR, the eagles were likely fighting over territory. Officer Martinson tried to intervene using a tactic he saw on Animal Planet, but the eagles eventually flew away. Martinson said the eagles did not appear to be hurt, though the DNR says that raptor fights usually end in serious injuries or even death. The Fear the Beard Challenge is underway at Schrader Middle School in Grand Forks. During the month of November, students can pie teachers or school resource officers on the spot for $20. All proceeds go to students who may be in need during this holiday season. Coming up on Valley News Live at 4, hundreds of thousands of seasonal workers are needed. We'll tell you who's hiring for the holidays.
And tomorrow is that Minnesota deer opener. Of course, I'll break down what you can expect if you're heading out outdoors to see some deer, but also talk about our first alert weather day we've raised for Friday of next week. All that coming up here next.